Looks like we have 2 minutes by my clock. I'm going to turn off my Spotify now so nobody hears my choice of music. Not that it's bad. It's just acquired taste, maybe. I've got 7:44 on the clock here on the in Seattle on the west coast of the United States. So we'll start here in about a minute, and we'll get going. Give me a chance to get another sip of coffee. Okay, so it looks like the screen is sharing okay. If anybody has trouble seeing my screen, just pop it in the chat. I'm going to try to monitor that, but we're going to go ahead and get started here because I know we're not going to get through all this because I made way too many slides, but this will be available to everybody afterwards. But if anyone has trouble seeing what's on my screen, just chat and let me know. And if not, then we'll just go ahead and get started. It's 7:45 here, so let's go ahead and kick off. So it's always weird flying blind like this a little bit where I can't see the comments coming in. So I'm going to keep the chat open as well. So if anybody is on the app or whatever, can chat me if anything goes wrong. So today we're going to be looking at using market intelligence for executive recruiting. This is going to be different because what I do is a little bit different from everybody else. I don't run a team. I'm a sole individual. I work for ServiceNow. I am the researcher for executive recruiting. What is that? So, it's interesting when we talk about market intelligence and we talk about how it's used. Like I said, I don't have a team. I haven't had a chance to have a budget to build out a team of analysts or other things. So everything I do is, do it yourself, kind of by the bootstraps. And so I've built out a program for executive research at ServiceNow over the last year, and it's been incredible. Where I'm slotted is I work with the executive recruiters and the executive leadership team, and then also executive sourcers are partners in what we do. And when I say we, I mean me. So sometimes I feel like I have a split personality. So my approach today may be a little bit different from other things that you've heard. I'm definitely not as smart as the rest of the speakers and definitely not as experienced in this, but hopefully you'll find this of value. If you want to connect with me, that's my real email. I put that out there. I have an open door policy, so people can reach out to me at any point in time. And totally fine with that happening. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I think that's still valid. I check it occasionally and use it. So feel free to connect with me. But again, Todd Davis, I'm the executive talent sourcing researcher, which is a mouthful at ServiceNow, the only one. And I work across all areas and globally as well. So just helped identify, scope, and fill a position in Tokyo. Just filled an critical SVP position in the Americas. And I think we're heading in the right direction. I just saw a notification come in. I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on what's happening here. So I think we're good. So we're going to keep on rolling until someone tells me otherwise. So what is market intelligence? I've been kicking around that in my head, and I actually added this slide in recently because I think it's different things to different people. In my world, I kind of bucket it in my brain into people, products, and companies. So looking at the different aspects of the people profiling and what intelligence we can get out of that, whether that's open source intelligence or whether that's human intelligence, in other words, conversations, other things that you're having or your people are having, the products. So what are your competitor products and who's working on those products and how are they impacting the market? What's the market share? There's so many facets to products. And I think we overlook that because we usually just jump to companies. Okay, we're going to look at the companies in the market. who are our competitors? Is it the ITSM space for ServiceNow? Is it going out to a larger kind of cloud computing kind of intelligence look at like that big overlying kind of area? So most people go to companies like, okay, I need to find the people at this company doing this work. But we don't take the time to really scope, map, and build out what we're doing in terms of the work. So today, and it may not be necessarily during this complete presentation, this deck, make sure we'll get it out to you. But what I hope you walk away with is an understanding of what people insights are from my perspective, and an understanding of industry insights that kind of falls into that products and company perspective, and understanding how to find, gather, warehouse, and the importance of the presentation. So that's another passion of mine, is how we show up and how we present data. And that can be as complicated as, building out Tableau dashboards, or, any sort of analytic kind of suite of software, whatever you're using, or it could be as simple as how do you leverage PowerPoint, or how do you leverage something else to show the data, to tell the story. And it's a practical importance because this really helps move the process along in terms of what we're doing. So let's start with people insights. So people insights, to me, what we're talking about are everything from their current role and what they're doing, their career path, their education, even their choice of where they live, their digital social footprint, their complete digital footprint, everything from campaign contributions to where they're speaking, what they're doing. We can develop a really great people profile by doing that diligence around what a people profile or people insights are. Product and company insights, like I was mentioning, is delving into what those products are, how they're impacting the market, what their market share is, those sorts of things. And company insights, leader, trender, using Gartner, which we'll talk about, or Forrester or other, where do they slot? Are they a leader? Are they on the fringe? Where are they? All this information really helps you to be more educated in terms of how you go about filling a position or role. But let's start with the people insights. I'm going to try to hustle through this. I always try to do practical kind of demonstrations. So what I'm doing in terms of this is we're going to take a look at finding a CTO. We're just going to target Amazon because they're in my backyard. And we can do something simple. Like most people say, well, I already know who the CTO is. Great. Well, if you don't, here's some practical ways you could do it. You could do something complicated with an X-ray search on LinkedIn for Amazon or AWS and CTO. You're going to get Werner Vogels. And we're going to use him as our case study today to go through that. I also use other tools such as Chartloop, which is a great tool for building out organizational charts. Hits at about a 70, 75% or 80%, if on a good day, kind of efficiency rating. But from there, you can actually build out a bigger kind of intelligence around organizational charts. I can start there, or I can start with something like The Information or Business Insider. Good Lord, there's tons of resources on how you're going to do it. So scoping it beforehand, knowing what you're looking for, is going to be super, super critical. So we're going to take a look at Werner Vogel. So I'm going to use an OSINT approach. And for those that I'm sure most of you are familiar with open source intelligence, went through a great training course in teletechniques on that, as well as some other things in terms of building my knowledge around OSINT. And essentially open source intelligence is just using open and free resources to find the information you're looking for. This is a simple kind of OSINT process overview that I use when I'm gathering data and information, whether it falls into that people insights category or products or companies. This is what I do. But breaking it down is I basically search, gather, index, warehouse that information, and then I present it. There are complicated workflows on how we go about finding that data and that information. This is an example for finding emails that is an OSINT workflow from teletechniques. Doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be just as easy as like, okay, I'm going to do a username search, do a search engine search. I'm going to use some tools after that, Aware Online, Noam, or Name Checker, to try to find that information. But you don't have to go super complicated. Same thing with all the tools that are out there, like Spiderfoot or Maltego. If those people are familiar with those are OSINT tools that will automate the process for you. A lot more complicated. Don't necessarily have to do it. There's a more efficient approach. One of the tools that I think is really useful is the query tool, which is actually a Google Sheets based tool that not only does the people insights kind of data to where we can actually go through and find that information on a person, but we can also go in and find information around, patents and other things and different information. For Werner, we're able to find some really great data and information just using different kind of search tools. They have everything from meta search engines. For those that aren't familiar with that, it's like multiple search engines in one. It's kind of like the split personalities of sourcing. But the meta search engine that I chose, Carrot, actually brings up some great insights. And we can look at this and kind of think, okay, there's a lot of stuff here, Todd, but if you go in and look at it, you can see that there's not only information about the person in terms of Werner, but there's also documents, other information that could really build out our search, right? And build out our profile and how we're going to customize our presentation of our data. So what I'm trying to get you to think about is like a simple approach using query tool, using another simple tool. Don't overthink your process in terms of data identification. A lot of people spend a lot of time building out search strings and other things. You can use some simple tools to be really efficient in how you're pulling everything. Okay, so, yep, got it. That's fine. Yeah, sorry about that. I got a message that came in. So another part of the query tool is actually the human intelligence, which we were talking about, which is more of the looking for the exact person. We can go into the username, email. We can put in their IP address, their MAC. We could do a lot of different things with it. For this case, I was just showing the username for Werner Vogels, the CTO at Amazon. We could go in and do something like using Google social search from the query tool and go in and look at Werner's social footprint and to gain more insights into that. And the usersearch.org is another great tool that's inside the query tool that you can actually go in and pull out a great information on him, everything from Pinterest to other things. Why do we want to do that? And I keep coming back to this is because the more data, the more insights that we have into an individual, the more curated of an experience that we can present to an executive, right? Or to the team. So it's to your internal people, and then also we can curate the experience for that person we're trying to hire. It also gives us insights. It covers our blind spots. We make sure that we're not missing anything when we're going in and identifying people. So ID crawl is another one that's inside the query tool. So we can go in and then identify, okay, we've got some emails now for outreach. That's another part of it, is that insights is how can we contact this person? We've got his Instagram, we've got Twitter. If we wanted to really delve into some people insights about Werner, what we could do is use a tool called Number. So if you go into Number just directly like this and type it in, you'll get like this pop-up and it'll say you have to pay and we're doing backgrounds, yada, yada, yada. By the way, Number's number is like a number of other similar sites that are data brokers. I'm not a fan of it, but from a researcher, I love those. I pay a service to remove all my information from online monthly. I was just going over my report last night. But what we can do is we can hack this. So we can do a site command. We're going to basically X-ray Number, and we're going to look for Werner Vogels. And as you can see, the first result comes up is Werner H. Vogels. So now we've got more insights. His middle initial is H, and he lives in Bellevue, Washington, which is in alignment and correct for the person that we're looking for. So you're like, okay, Todd, so what's that information about? So if we open this up, and sometimes you have to open in cache mode, but this way we can open it up. Now we've got more insights, right? More market intelligence on who Werner is. And I believe this is market intelligence. Some people can argue with me. I don't care. People intelligence is part of market intelligence. And so with this, we can actually find out his age, use appropriately, use for good, not for evil. We've got his mobile number, landline, married. We've got a ton of other information. We've got other emails that we can run down, right? We've got his address. If you actually click on this, you can look into his backyard, which I don't recommend doing. Some of this may be inaccurate information. Maybe he's a renter. I doubt it. But we get an idea of how long he's been there, etc. So all great information that we can leverage in an appropriate way. One of the things that I do too to enhance my market intelligence in terms of people intelligence or people insights is that, okay, we saw some phone numbers, but are they accurate? So I use a tool called Spy Dialer where we can put in his number that was on that page. We can actually see the results that it is Warner. This number is listed to Warner Vogels. But as you know, like me as a family man, you may have a family plan. This number may be under Warner, but it may be for someone in his family. So you can actually, with this tool, go in and hear the voicemail. Now, I don't know about internationally if this works or not. So I would love to see if somebody, could try that somewhere else to see what happens. And then also I'll check and see if there's going to be a specific tool that may be used internationally. But I love the privacy laws internationally as opposed to here in America, where it's still kind of the wild, wild west. Another great resource that I use for intelligence is Ancestry.com. You can actually go in and not look just for his family, but you can see that we can find patent information for Warner, which also gives us market intelligence about what he's been working on for Amazon. So everything's kind of related and built together. And you've just got to develop that mindset of kind of looking at information in multidimensional ways. When I started back, I've been doing this over 20 years. When I started back got air certified in the late 90s, they used to say you need to, information was kind of static, but if you peel back the URL, you can get to other information. Nowadays, information is it's a supernova, and there's so many different things that you can look at. So with this, you can go in and see what he's been working on, and you can also get other people insights about who he's worked with, who he's partnered with, etc. So you can start building out a really great data set of information around Warner. So industry insights, and I love peanut butter and jelly. It's my thing. I'm not going to sing or dance for those that know the peanut butter and jelly song, but I've been known to do it before. But we'll not do it this morning because it's way too dang early on the West Coast here. But industry insights are kind of like the peanut butter and jelly, or the mix with the people insights. With that, I'm pretty simple. Like I said, there's a lot more complex things that we can do. But for this, again, for this section or this area, I'm going to go through a case study, and we're going to look at this from, as you remember from the beginning, and hopefully you did, the product perspective. So we're going to look at Salesforce's Sales Cloud. Pretty big, pretty general. But let's, how would I look at that? Like, how would I go in and start kind of analyzing everything that is about Salesforce Sales Cloud? So Gartner is one of my go-to things for sure. And I'm not doing well when I've got notifications on this side here too. So I've got to make sure that I'm checking and make sure that I'm not presenting to my cat, and that's it. But Gartner, the Magic Quadrant is really great. I use it a little bit different. So I'll go into Google image search and I'll search for Gartner's Magic Quadrant, Salesforce Sales Cloud. We can actually refine that information through the filters or the tools that are on there for, the past year, past month. So we're making sure we're getting the most accurate information and data. Why am I looking at this? Because I want to see where it lands, who the competitors are, and it'll bring up a really great kind of picture about who the competitors are within the space. So now we're kind of bleeding from products into companies, which is great. As I said, data is no longer just kind of static. It's going to be multidimensional. And so now we can identify the companies, then we can go identify the products, and then we identify the people. I also go into the peer insights inside of Gartner. We're looking at multiple different kind of data points within that. Forrester's Wave is another. So using Google image search, we can go in and look at it. So if you prefer kind of a wave as opposed to a box, hey, I'm not going to judge. Like, people have view data in different ways. I like this as well. Again, we're getting product information leading to company information, leading to more data points for us to go into. Another tool that I'm using is this great tool that actually gives me some information on Salesforce as a company, and gives you general oversight. So there's a paid version of this. This is actually free. All the links will actually be in my deck. So it's here for you. So we can go in and actually look at Salesforce and gather some more information about company size, location. We can actually look at the market share of the Salesforce CRM. So again, like I was saying, when we're looking at people, products and companies. We're looking at for this particular area is, again, we're starting with products, but then we're looking at like the market share for the Salesforce CRM. So we went from company to product back. So we're looking at like what the market share is for that. They actually go in and show you the customer base, very important, depending on how you're scoping what you're working on. So great information here. Another tool that I'm using, which gives some great information, Enterprise Apps Today. I should have said the name of the last one. Apologize. It's early. Like, I am usually not this functional at this time. But this gives you some great information around, say, if we're targeting Stripe, we're doing Salesforce before, but I'm just going to show you really quick on this. So it gives you key Stripe statistics, everything from their investments to the percentage of usage, how many payment requests, those sorts of things. All great data we can put into it. From going back to the product perspective, I use G2 to go through and look at like the top, kind of competitors within that space, the other products that are with Sales Cloud. I also use Wallmine to go in and I do a lot of free stuff because, believe it or not, I don't have a lot of a budget. So a lot of the stuff I've built over the last year has been bootstrap, pulling it up, doing it myself, figuring it out. So I can monitor not only economic indicators and those sorts of things with Wallmine, but also we can track people. Let me back up and talk a little bit about that too, because we can actually go in and see who's actioning shares, other things. So they're executives. If somebody's selling something, selling off a ton of stock, I've set up notifications where I can see that. So we're monitoring activity. That gives us people perspective. Maybe they're ready to make a job change. Maybe there's something else going on in their life, or maybe it's a company indicator and we need to go look at it and see what's going on. So great opportunity. Statista, I use that a lot. So this is going back to Salesforce, gives us a great overview, general revenue, like the overall revenue, and net income and everything else that we can put into our cocktail and our build for what we're working on. So apps around the world, I use that as the apps top 500 or the cloud 500. That's really a great list for me to work off of. So gathering your data, Hunchly is a great tool that I use. It's more of an open source intelligence. So when we're thinking about all the data and the information that we're gathering, where are we warehousing it, how are we pulling it in? Sure, there's a CRM, there's some other stuff, but like, how do we do it? So Hunchly is a tool that has a Chrome extension, and then it will gather the information that you're on any web page, pull it in so you can organize it, model it, pull your data together. Really great tool. The only downside is that the Chrome extension will gather everything. So if you take a break and go onto your favorite website for memes or whatever else, it will grab that information, put it in there too. So it's okay. A little bit more hands-on. I use Microsoft OneNote. I've never been a huge Microsoft fan, but it is usable, scalable, searchable, exportable, all the bulls. Audibles? No, all bulls. But you can actually create your profile really well. Here's an example of somebody that I profiled for a previous conference. I just finished up doing SourceCon and did a couple beforehand, but I was asked to do a webinar where I profiled this person from scratch, cold, and this is how the information that it looks when I gathered it from the web and using Microsoft OneNote, and then I built this out, and then I will model that data. But as you can see, we can gather education, emails, and such. So tons of tools. Find your own truth, whatever you want to use, but I'm always saying use something to gather your information and warehouse it correctly and such. So sharing your data. This is really important, and I got to be mindful of time. It's kind of crazy. I'm usually, I don't want to say I have a handler, but like when I've done these other conferences and webinars, it's like, Todd, it's time out. You need to finish up. So I'm going to try to be as punctual on this as possible and leave time for questions as well. But this is the part that I feel like is really critical, is like communicating with text, which is usually how people have shown up, where like, I love how your spreadsheet looks and the charts look amazing, or even if you're doing something in Tableau and you've built a dash, but like, you've really got to be thoughtful and know your audience and how you're doing. But communicating with visuals will supercharge your work in terms of what you're doing. So the industry standards usually showing up with some sort of data like this, whether it's people data, company data, like a list of companies or a list of products, or dividing out by company and space or whatever. And you go into these I go into these senior level executive kind of meetings, and this stuff usually landed flat. So I've been helping our team kind of figure out how to show up differently and share data differently and just take those small steps to being an excellent organization. This is an example, and I can use it that wasn't able to share before, but this is in the foundation stages. So I have created a FinTech top 10 kind of deck for somebody. I can't really say who, but this is the start of it. There's an embedded Google Maps that's in here, which I can show you that actually pinpoints the location of the companies and gives some other data. I always put in key takeaways in other information that may be pertinent. And then also model or profile data, the people data that we're gathering in something like this. It doesn't have everything that I normally include, but this is just an example of how I show up differently. Color schemes, whatever you want to do in terms of your branding, you can change it. Orange, you glad I chose this color? I've been waiting to use that. That was really bad. Probably the wrong audience and way too early for dad jokes. But you can change the colors. I don't particularly like this color, but this is something I was trying to model for a particular corporation. You can use different tools, and I've all listed them all in here on how you can build your digital dossiers or your profiles. Just depends on how you want it to look. I built this one in Google Slides and just did it really quickly and built it out. Presenting it like this as opposed to spreadsheets a lot better. There's beautiful AI as another tool that I absolutely love, and it creates a really clean, crisp kind of presentation of that data. Also incorporating talent insights into it. So when I'm putting together my presentation layers, I'm including location data. I can do it like this within a PowerPoint or otherwise, where we can drop in the information to give whatever insights you're doing. If we are presenting in a spreadsheet format, I always say, hey, let's embed it within the PowerPoint so we can print it to PDF, make it clean, nice, etc., and track it that way, right? At the end of the day, we're still trying to put butts in seats. Then we kind of model, and I couldn't share what I normally use, so I tried to kind of do it, but the companies that are on the left are the ones that we are actively recruiting from. The others are kind of in the pool, and so we model that data and include that as well. Also, we kind of show our resources and where we're pulling stuff from, and we've got a bunch of different ones like I was mentioning. There's too many to go over, but it's in the deck for you, which will be in your goodie bag at the end of the presentation. So saying My Maps on Google is really a great tool for doing heat maps and pinpointing things. So for the FinTech top 10, I went in and created a map that's interactive that shows where the location of the companies are, but then also when you click on the map dot, it'll open it up and all that data that you've been gathering. So it's going to be more company and product information or otherwise. You could put that in there, maybe people data, and you could map this out. However you want to put your information in here, there's definitely a way to do it. And it's a great visual way to engage your audience and your executives on how, however you're presenting it, whatever you want to do. So I think I was going for 30 minutes. So I was timing starting at 8:45 to 8:15. I want to stop and then see if there are any questions or anything else that I can answer before we end up here. So Alan, I hope it was 30 minutes. So I was trying to time that correctly. Anyways, I'll be glad to answer any questions with the last few minutes that we have here, which I think is about 3 minutes. And I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. I don't know how we're doing questions here, but people could type them, chat them, or I don't know if people can come off mute or not, Alan, but
I can come
are there not any questions?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I was having a little anxiety, if I'm completely honest. I'm like, is anyone there? Oh my God, what's happening?
No, you've got a load of people here. You beat Toby if you want to bragging rights. More people came to your session than his. So in terms of questions, people generally smatter them across both chat and Q&A. I know Glenn's just asked a question. He said, what sources besides Google Maps goes onto the slide?
Yeah, so we include digital dossiers. We include the insights in terms of kind of one slide that shows everything. And nowadays, it's really critical is diversity information, and that's by market, by region, by different things by company. We also include key takeaways. So, and I wish I could show some of this work, but a lot of what I do is really, I can't. But key takeaways for the industry. We embed the heat map. We also put in talent insights into those as well. And then it depends, because I break it out to where we have like a talent map to begin with, a presentation layer, and then we have a weekly or biweekly check-in kind of thing that the executive recruiters print out the PDF, share, then we go through the meetings with. So variety of different information. So
one question I was going to ask you, I've done a little bit of exec search in my time, not a lot, grand stretch of the imagination, but it appears to me that what you're doing is right out there in terms of very different to how a lot of people approach executive search. How have you got to this point of doing it how you do it in comparison to how many people approach exec recruitment?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I came in, and honestly, I've been a sourcer for 20 plus years and in the research role for maybe 3 or 4, right? So pretty new. So coming in, it was looking at assessing what the immediate needs were. We're talking about, I did this at Salesforce and at ServiceNow, more sourcing at Salesforce, more research focused at ServiceNow, but trying to determine what the need was, right? And the need was to one, figure out how to archive, warehouse, and proactively identify the talent, and then also do that with the insights. And so we built out a menu of current offerings, and now we're modifying that to something greater. And so, a lot of what was born out of what I'm doing here was out of strictly competitive nature, that I was going in and actually having to win the business internally against an agency. And so I had to start thinking like what an agency was like, how they show up, how they present, and then helping the executive recruiters up level, and then also build my business, and then also deliver results, which has been a crazy year for sure.
If you can put your hands on the same kind of tools and the same kind of data as the agencies, as the exec search firms, etc., but you've also got the inside knowledge of the organization, you should be able to outperform them in theory. There's nothing else that they've got in terms of a secret source that you can't put your hands on for that point, is there?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because I don't know, in terms of secret sauce or tools or other things. I saw Glenn was asking a question. Honestly, I got distracted because Glenn is one of my favorites and an amazing mind.
I think he's everyone's favorite.
Yeah, no, he's great. Like I said, there are a lot smarter people than me on this thing. But I'm working usually against a horde of analysts or people that have been doing this. So like my toolkit has to be on point, and how I use that and my methodology and how I build and how I present has to be really on point and efficient. And as a matter of fact, rolling out of this, I've got to build a deck and presentation for a 3 p.m. meeting today. I'm not stressed. I'm fine. But so I use a variety of different tools, but probably things that are not uncommon to others, but then I use it in my own way and form and fashion. So Glenn asked, fleshed out Diddle, what is your favorite tool for the heat map? I don't know if he's asking about heat map in terms of what I'm using to actually show the heat map. Like I love my maps, which is amazing, but then also you have to tailor it to your audience. So a lot of what I do is I go into Infogram and I build out a heat map there, download it high res, and then crop and present in that fashion in terms of how it looks. And it has to be on point, on brand, and make sure it's embedded correctly and clean. So hopefully that's what he's asking. In terms of where I pulled the data from, so we're using everything from Drop to LinkedIn Talent Insights to, it's a soup of everything, because most people, or a lot of people say we go to one source and I just pull that information. I pull it from a variety of different sources and look at commonalities, figure out if they're accurate, and then build off of that. So, if we're looking at location data, sure, we could look at it, LinkedIn Insights, which is whatever, you're relying on that they're indexing information correctly and accurately. Or you can look at other data, other information. You can look at local resources or other things. I know I'm way over, but was trying to answer questions. So
let's assume that answers Glenn's question. If it doesn't, Glenn can reach out to you directly anyway. Todd, that's amazing. Thank you very much. Guys, if you're watching now, you're probably thinking, what session next? You've got a choice of Vibhu Ganesen from Intel, or you've got Toby again. Toby's done a lot today. Toby and Robert Dagg, who are talking about the TIC survey that's been going around over the last month or so. and some of the insights that have been drawn from that. So thanks again, Todd. Much appreciated, and we'll see you over whichever session you decide to join next. Take care, guys.
I'm going to head out. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No worries.
Bye.